So from time to time, we might need to troubleshoot our electrical and also change a conveyor rod. So the first thing that you need to do is disconnect all the power and remove the bottom cover from this conveyor motor housing. So we'll do that. We'll just undo that screw and then pop out the bottom plate. Next, we'll go to the underside and the inside of this box and loosen that set screw on the motor side of the coupler. And it's right there on the outside, and that just couples the motor to that conveyor rod. So next, we'll remove all of the housing screws. There's two on the front plate up here, and as well, there's also two screws on the side that we'll take off, right down there, one right underneath the electrical input, and one on the top. And now we can pop this conveyor motor, directly off. So we'll go ahead and pull that out, and it's uncoupled. So we can just place it on the table there. And you'll see that there's a gear motor negative and gear motor positive. And these wires control the rotation of the gear motor. If the gear motor is moving in the wrong direction, simply reverse these two wires. Next, we have a load line, and then we have a line. Now, the line goes directly to the wall, and the load line goes directly to the switch. So when you turn on the switch, that's the load that goes directly to the board, right there. Now, it's important to remember that the top two are the white wires. Those are your line and load, and those go on the top. Now, the load 2 and line 2 are black, and they go on the bottom connections. Now, troubleshooting a power surge, we'll have to look at both of these lines. If a power surge burns on the line side of the board, then this indicates there may be a problem with the home electrical. And if there's a power surge burns on the load side of the board, then that means that there may be a load problem and or a bad switch. So, as well, as you can see in the center here, if burning occurs on the back side by this coil, this just indicates that it's an old board. If for any reason you need to disconnect this board, you'll just simply undo these screws and then take off the set screw from this knob by just going in there, undo your set screw, and then you'll pop that knob off. And then there will be a retaining nut on the bottom side that you'll have to remove as well. And then you'll have access to just simply slip that board right out and replace it with a new one. So now let's go on to changing a conveyor rod. So we'll move that to the back, and we'll loosen the set screw on the conveyor rod side of the coupler. So we'll just take that off, put that down there, and then always realign the coupler set screws to the flat portion of the conveyor rod, because that's what will give them traction, and you need to keep that in mind. So let's fully loosen the conveyor belt. We can get that just so it's a little bit loose, and then we'll remove the leveling bracket on the front side of the machine. So we'll go ahead and undo those screws that keep that bracket in place, and just keep your hand on that conveyor rod and slip that bracket off. Now, with that in place, what we can do is simply remove the old rod, and then we'll replace that old rod with a new one by just dropping it on top of the table there, and then get a firm grip on one end, and then pull down and put that rod into the bearing hole there. And then you can replace the leveling bracket and reattach that rod. And you'll leave the nut slightly loose for a moment, because we're going to level this with sort of a straight edge. So just look for anything with a straight edge and bring that conveyor rod up to the straight edge, and you can see there we just need to bring it up a little bit. So we'll go ahead and do that, and just sort of bring that up and tighten down that front screw. Pull it into place. We'll check the level again, and that looks about perfect. So we'll go ahead and tighten everything down, and then we'll repeat the same process for the other side. So this one's a little more difficult just because the screws are on the back side. So we'll go ahead and on the back side loosen up these two mounting screws. You can see right there, and then we'll just move that around a little bit. That gives us a little bit of wiggle room, and we'll bring that up to the straight edge. So essentially we're just a little bit off here, so we'll go ahead and bring that up, and then we'll tighten down the front screw first. We'll check the level again, and that looks perfect. So now we can tighten everything down. So very simple process to level that. Okay, now we want to reinstall the coupler. So make sure you find the flat edge and go ahead and place that coupler back on there, and then tighten down that set screw with an Allen wrench, and we're good to go there. And next we'll have to align the flat edge to the coupler, so just keep that in mind, that the coupler there has a flat edge we need to align. And so we'll go ahead and put that casing back on, and from the underside view we'll go ahead and we'll first reinstall all the housing screws and get all those put on there. And then we can go to the underside and tighten up that set screw. And that one's the set screw that goes to your conveyor motor. So we'll tighten everything down, and then we'll replace the bottom cover, and you're good to go. You've just installed a new conveyor rod. Great.